Hey everybody, welcome to the Growing with Fishes podcast. I'm Steve.
I'm Marty.
And I am Fish Ganja Guy.
And we do this podcast as often as we can. We aim for every week. Obviously, we've been not able to do that lately. Marty and I have both been busy with harvest season, and I'm in the process of moving permanently to California. So, yeah, I've just been a little crazy lately, so I apologize for the infrequency, but that's going to change again here soon. Closer to Thanksgiving, everything will settle down more permanently. So today we have
something somewhere.
What's that?
I said, are you actually going to get to plant something somewhere soon?
Yeah, I'll have a whole giant, multiple acres to build shed and grow shed, and won't have to move around anymore. And then I'll have to get jetted off to Puerto Rico so I can try to scramble to keep things going back in Cali. But it's okay. At least I'll have a more permanent home base and a place. I'll tell you guys about it when I turn to talk. But Fish Ganja Guy's on a little bit of a schedule, so we're gonna let him talk real quick, and then I'll get into what I got going on.
Well, I just want to start off with saying real quick, I do love how you say I'm moving into a permanent location and then I'm leaving for Puerto Rico.
Yep. Pretty much that's what I'm doing. I leave from here, get there long enough to move my stuff there and do a couple of things for like a week or two, and then I go off to Puerto Rico, hopefully. So that's not set in stone yet, but it looks that way. Moment. So
well, cool,
why don't you tell us what you got going on? For those of you who don't know, Fish Ganja Guy is real big in the over at Do Grow Show, and he's someone I've known for quite a bit now. And I don't remember, you might have even come out to my class at the Ponics course, I forget. But so why don't you tell us about what you're doing and what you're up to and what you got going on?
Well, I'm just doing my thing down in Southern California right now, just growing medical and doing my 9 to 5, so to speak, on the side. But what I've really got in the works is my sister and I were trying to get a medical grow going up in Northern California. Currently trying to lock down a warehouse. That way we can do an all aquaponic medical grow there and get a few dispensaries open over the next year or two and really have a good medical patient focus with what we're doing. So that way, even if some not so good bills pass, we can still try and take care of the people who are in need. Not try and gouge them on prices if possible. And other than that, just launched up my YouTube channel, and you can find it under Fish Ganja Guy on YouTube. And just have one video up right now, but I'm going to be putting up another one probably by the end of the weekend. And instead of just doing like a lot of people where you see it's just here, look at my weed. What I want to do is actually have that as kind of a side emphasis, like on the back burner, so much as I want to actually teach more about aquaponics and how to take care of your fish, how to grow good healthy veggies, how to build systems, how to actually do a radial flow filter right, actually help people learn how to do it themselves. But yeah, that's really all that's going on at the moment.
Cool. What do you got growing in your garden right now? I had a chance to go out and see his grow a couple of weeks ago, and it was pretty tricky. So, why don't you tell us what you got going on?
Well, the veggie gardens and the veggie gardens over at my parents' place, because I like to make them healthy food and stuff. So I got that set up over there with them, and I got a bunch of chard going. I just yanked out some summer stuff that's no good anymore, and got some herbs in there. I'm going to be getting a bunch of lettuces that I just started the seeds on, some kales, and then normally during the summer I'll get some honeydew melon, watermelon, and a bunch of tomatoes going. And those are going to eat up a lot of the nitrates and everything, so don't try and overload the beds, because once you do that, that's when you're going to have all the little buggers hiding in there. And then
what's
up?
I was going to say you had a couple of different strains you grew last year. What was the one that you were sharing with me that was really good?
Oh, that was
really tasty.
That was Star Killer from Rare Dankness.
Yeah,
actually wasn't
really
even
good.
Yeah, of that round, that was my keeper pheno, but the one that I grew this last round actually topped it. It's curing right now, so in about a week I'm going to take it down to SC Labs and get microbial done, make sure there's nothing funky on it, and get a potency. But yeah, just really grew much nicer nugs, better height, better growth rate in veg and flower. So other one went the way of the dodo, and this one did. And then right now, what I've got going on is even more intense. Let me go grab my list. I'll tell you what's going on in the tent at the moment. But I just started up a new round. I'm in week 2 of veg. Going to be heading over to the garden in a little bit and watering all the ladies. But let me see, what was it that I had in there? I had 2 from In-House Genetics. It's a couple phenos of Afghanimal, which is a beautiful purple strain. Let's see, it's got Mendo Breath crossed with Do-Si Do is another one I got going. I got, what else in there? Critical Cure from Barney's Farm. I've got Super Harlequin, which is another high CBD strain. I made sure to test them in veg for a ratio proportion of CBD to THC, because I'm not going to grow a CBD strain that's not going to be giving me CBD. But Harlequin is, well, that one's from Geist Grow, one of the head breeders for the Humboldt Seed Organization.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've got another one that is called Urkel Buck from, well, the name's a reference to Uncle Buck, one of the best movies. But it's from Andromeda Genetics, another one that I picked up over at Neptune Seed Bank. And that one is a cross of Purple Buckeye and, I'm sorry, it's Silver Buckeye, which is Super Silver Haze and Purple Buckeye and Purple Urkel. But one of the ones that I'm most looking forward to is one from another breeder from the Humboldt Seed Organization who goes by the name 42. And I got some really, really great strains that I'm testing for them. And this is going to be the first of them. The next one, the next round that I'm starting up in January, and I'm going to take some of those strains to the DGC Cup to enter in, are just absolutely insane. But the one that I'm growing right now, let me find the name of it, the lineage real quick. It is, well, at the moment I'm just calling it Best Dog Ever because he doesn't have an official name, but it helps me remember. It is the original Best Shit Ever, the one that won over at the Emerald Cup. And then let's see, we've got the HSO Super Male, which is the Humboldt Seed Organization Super Male. It's like Fire OG Bass crossed 3 times with Platinum Girl Scout cookies, I think, is what that is. And it's also crossed with Foo Dog. So we got Best Shit Ever, the Super Male, and Foo Dog. I think I have that listed outright. But yeah, dude, it's going to be absolutely insane because everything this guy 42 grows is just absolutely killer. Like out of all the stuff that I listed, that's the one I'm most excited about.
Very cool. So how have you enjoyed growing aquaponically versus other methods that you've tried, or what made you decide to go to aquaponics? And
I like it better, man. I mean, I started off with hydro gardens and some soil, and the hydro gardens, it was pretty pricey getting all the nutrients all the time. And I was just watching the temperature of the water, the sludge factor, all that stuff. The soil was good, but I had a lot of soil parasites I had to watch out for. And it was a little annoying. But a buddy of mine up in the Sacramento area, he told me about aquaponics. So I finally sat down, read into it, and I was like, oh, this doesn't seem too bad. So I started up a small aquaponic garden for veggies, and just the quality difference that I noticed, I was like, okay, this is how I'm going to start doing my shit from now on. This is, if the vegetables and the fruits are this much better, growing this much faster, and I find it this much easier to take care of the garden, yeah, there's no question I'm switching over. So let my credit card take a hit and built up a nice big system. You know, it is what it is, and it was worth it in the end.
I love it. Nice. I like the way it's laid out. Sorry about the background noise, guys.
No worries, no worries. Yeah, the only downer is with my space limitations right now. I'm a little limited on height, and also sorry, house sitting over at my folks. A little limited on height, and didn't have enough room to really do it as a chop system where I would have been able to put in a radial flow filter or something. So right now I have 2 of my beds cleared out, so I'm doing them like you did, where you just have the water in there and the pot sitting towards the bottom. And one's just full of hydrogen with my dual root pots just kind of wedged in there. So I still have a good media or biofilter with all the media. And hold on a second, let me just shut him up. Hey, get over here. So still processing all my ammonia, just as fine as I should be. But I've got some paint strainer bags tied onto my water inlets so that way I can catch the solids, because I don't want it to keep building and building and eventually get some anaerobic zones or anything nasty I'll have to deal with. Because I'm pretty sure my red wiggler worms are only going to be able to process so much fish poop at a time.
Yeah. You definitely need some amount of solid separation, at least a little bit. It really, well, it kind of depends. If you have a real small system, it's not too bad, but you have a decent sized system. So.
Yeah. So it's working all right. And then, yeah, man, just trying to get through the 95, take care of my garden, and might figure out what I'm going to do as far as a larger grow. Because I would much rather be getting that set up so I can start taking care of people on the regular.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, what about you? What's going on with all your stuff? I know you've got Puerto Rico happening, and you're international fugitive from Jamaica. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. Well, all kinds of stuff going on. So I'm in the process of moving to this really dope place out in the desert, outside of San Diego, called Eden Art Gardens, and it's called Eden Art Gardens and Eco something Museum. I forget what the exact thing is, but we'll be putting out a bunch of vegetable and cannabis systems out there, and close property. We'll be getting started with one of our industrial grows, commercial grows. So it's be nice to be close to work, right around the corner from work, and I'll have kind of a huge area to have a much more creative, artistic take on the cannabis stuff. And it's pretty much like a mini Burning Man. I couldn't have asked for a cooler place to be invited to live. So
nice, man. Yeah, that kind of sounds like it's your speed.
yeah, it'll be really dope, and I'm excited. We're getting a lot of videos out of that place here once I move out there on Thanksgiving, and yeah, I had a chance to go visit out there. The handful of you that are on my Facebook as friends have seen some of the videos from there. It's really dope. So, yeah, it's a really cool place. We're going to be doing some work with some of the schools out there and open up a little. Hopefully, if we can get that all finished up paperwork-wise, and then we'll be doing some other cool stuff out there just with the community to help the community out there as well. We don't really have a grocery store or anything like that remotely near there, so we'll be helping provide some fresh veggies to people that are in the middle of nowhere. So on top of just having amazing music and everything all the time.
Nice, man. Yeah, that sounds like a good deal. And I remember hearing recently you're doing some stuff for the schools up in the LA area. What was that again?
It's through the same organization. There's a group I'm doing a lot of work with now, for those of you that are interested, called the rootstock.org, which does a ton of humanitarian work, or not humanitarian work, but like educational work for schools and everything like that. And we have working on a big project with LA School District at their charter school. They have an Earth and Sciences charter school, and I've been doing some work with them there and working on some curriculum and some of the new design work they have a whole bunch of new stuff that we're building there in the greenhouses. They have some aquaponic greenhouses, and we're expanding those, adding some stuff like fruit trees and some large wicking beds and some stuff to diversify what their crops they're able to grow there, and let the kids learn about more than just a flood and drain bed or more than just a raft bed. Some of these other more interesting methods that allow you to diversify your aquaponic crop a little bit well outside the rows of lettuce that are traditionally taught to you.
Nice, man.
So yeah, and then working with Eco Cultivos. For those of you who don't know, I missed it last time. Working with a company down in Puerto Rico, we'll be putting up 800 by 30 greenhouses for a commercial grow down there. They're the oldest aquaponics company in all of Puerto Rico. They do a lot of spearmint, lettuce, and other leafy green production at the moment, and they're building a new facility on their property just for cannabis, and it'll be really, really cool. We'll get some video of that for you guys. I was hoping to get the gentleman on there to join us with the podcast, but we had so much technical difficulties today.
Yeah, man, that's the whole reason I came. I mean, I didn't come to just talk to you and Marty. I wanted to meet this guy. That's what this was all about.
But we'll get him on here shortly, maybe next episode, or we'll get an interview with him and we'll get that up. And scheming with some stuff with the Dude Grows guys for some content for you guys that I can't tell you more about at the moment, but I think the guys are going to be really excited about when you see how that all turns out. And what else have I gone on? Yeah. Just trying to get situated or getting all my stuff consolidated to get it out to one place. So, 'cause right now my stuff's scattered to the four winds across 2 places in California and 1 place in Colorado. So back in one place again after working a bunch of different places this past couple of months. It's been a little nuts. So
I mean, that's just the stuff you have going on in the continental U.S. I mean, you've got stuff all over. You're worldwide.
Yep. We have a whole bunch of stuff that I won't get into specifically that depends on the election, which way things go in this state or that. Some in the Midwest, some in the Northeast. A project in Maine that I can tell you about. The name of the company, I don't even know if they've decided on a final name, but they're building a big facility up in Maine. Might be up there with Aquaponic Dummy, working on that one.
Nice.
All over. So looking forward to next week and getting this all over with so we can, the whole cannabis industry has pretty much hit pause the last 3 months as far as spending any money everyone's just waiting to see if they need to go with plan A or plan B or this, that, or the other. And have some other stuff going on. I have 2 bigger companies working with out of LA that I can't tell you any information about right now, but later on when I'm able to, you guys will be the first to know on some aquaponic projects.
Nice.
And yeah, we're working with the NASA museum that's being built over there with some aquaponic systems, so it'd be pretty nifty.
And all I'm really worried about with next week is just knowing who I have to go out and smack if 64 passes.
If we're lucky, both candidates will get arrested.
Dude, I'm still hoping Uncle Bernie swoops in to save us all.
Right? It'd be great if he just runs on stage and socks both of them and I am the winner. Stands on both of them. There can be only one. But yeah, I know the election was 64, man. I've seen so much just complete shilling and like people just flat out lying about how the bill's written, and then when you go and you post the actual like a deer in headlights, and then won't even respond anymore. In fact, that's happened to me 3 times in the last 24 hours where someone was shilling hardcore for it, and I go and I just copy and paste the actual bill and highlight the stuff that's different, and like it's going to increase the amount of people in jail for cannabis in California, which is ridiculous.
Oh, totally.
And it criminalizes parents' ability to provide medical cannabis for their children, which is even more insane.
Well, no, it's okay because they can get them Oxycontin. It's okay for kids.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and they just legalized that shit for kids under 12. Like,
yeah, dude.
What the hell is that shit?
That goes together.
What is that? It's called market expansion.
Yeah.
Once you get all the adults hooked, you got to start on the next generation.
Hook them while they're young.
My favorite is how like every single antipsychotic or antidepressant says not for use of anyone under the age of 18. None of them are approved for under the age of 16. I think there's a couple that are at 16. That's it. But they prescribe those to children as young as 3.
But they kill off their customers way faster, so they got to start younger. I mean, when you got like 20-some% of the people on them committing suicide,
well, that's why they made Viagra and all. They need to keep reproducing the customers because they're killing them off too quick.
Well, that's why they're dropping the age. They can start them younger. Market expansion.
Well, I mean, think of it this way: they've got those like the gummy Adderall or whatever that shit is for kids now.
Oh
so
yeah,
they have to take, dude.
I just saw that on the news the other day. The gummy Adderalls, and it's like gummy speed, and it's like, no, you wouldn't go and give your kid a gummy meth pill. This is the same thing. Chemically, they're 1 or 2 molecules different.
I might give myself one if I need to get through a shift, but
yeah, but I don't know. But I can't have a gummy. I can't go and get a gummy thing at the
10 milligrams. That's it.
Yeah, 10 milligrams. It's completely insane. And then on a separate rant on the same topic. On this same topic, I just want to rant on this because this really made me upset the other day. I got on the plane, and I can't even have a multi-tool, okay? Flying back from Cali.
Yeah.
And the girl next to me on the plane had a full baseball bat, and I'm like, wait a minute, what the hell? Like this is total bullshit.
Well, I mean, in her defense,
she can have a baseball bat?
Well, she's got the World Series is going on, one, and two. If she holds that to somebody's throat, what's going to happen?
Well, the thing I was thinking why they might have let her is because it's like it is a pretty long, I mean, it was a full length bat, and it'd be pretty hard to swing it on a plane. Like you just don't have the room.
Yeah, they should probably just hit the luggage.
That's why they should legalize at that point. Just legalize katanas. You know, like you can't swing it anyway. You know, it's just ridiculous that I can't have a multi-tool and this girl could have a baseball bat. I was like, this is ridiculous.
Was she dressed like Harley Quinn? Because then I could understand.
Yeah, it was totally. Yeah, I mean, if she was. I would have been okay with that, you know.
I think every guy in the plane would have been okay with that. Wait, was she fat?
As Scotty would say, that's sexualist. Oh, speaking of which, we'll plug them real quick. Fish Ganja guy and I are doing a wake and bake with them this weekend, and I'm gonna be over at the show tomorrow, the Do Grow show. I don't know if I'll be on the show, but I'm gonna go. I'll be over there with them, and I don't know, may or may not record a segment. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, definitely tell Dude about 64.
Oh yeah, no. When I was hanging out with them 2 weeks ago, we were going over that. But yeah, we're gonna try and bring up the election because it's really important, and Friday's the news episode for them, so it'd be a good time to try and poke them about it.
Like, hey, while I'm here.
So, what about you, Marty? What you got going on? I've been talking too much.
Oh yeah, sorry I missed the whole first part. I just got a call from my my kid's basketball thing. I volunteered for coach for my daughters. Now I have to do it for my son. So now I get to coach 2 teams this year. That's gonna be cool. Actually, I do like it a lot. Man. But I think the girls are probably gonna be better than the boys. We'll see. And it's just an instinct I have. I really enjoy coaching the girls. But anyway, that's why I missed that whole first part. So sorry I was on the phone for that. But
it's all
anyway, just trimming, man. You know, you got fucking my little bin of shit here. It's my personal, and then jar after jar of more stuff to take care of. So just
my heart goes out to you, dude. My heart goes out to you.
Yeah, I got on my personal, I got maybe maybe 2 pounds here in jars that I sort of baby for myself, and then the rest of it's in banker boxes in the garage downstairs at the moment. So anyway, just fucking trimming and doing that stuff, and then still working on a little recreational project I have in the works, and hoping that will come to fruition relatively soon. Like a hopefully tier 1 rec license up here in Oregon, which would be 5,000 square foot indoor and 20,000 square foot canopy outdoor.
Nice.
So that will probably won't start out maxing it out, but hopefully by this time next year we'll have the full canopy filled out and ready to go.
Your neighbor's gonna love that.
Fuck my neighbor.
He's gonna make sure that there's mirrors all on it, so when the grow lights are on, to keep them in veg all night, it's just like this laser death beam right to the guy's window.
Yeah, I'm not sure what.
Parabolic mirrors.
I mean, Blair Rasta music, also,
yeah.
Just right inside the noise disturbance line, 8:59 p.m. It's gonna turn off. Just yep. Yeah, no, I don't care a lot about my neighbor's opinion about it anymore, basically because I don't feel like any of my neighbors care about my right to grow. So, it's kind of my concern for them is sort of waned over the years. I used to be really concerned about it and not wanting to inconvenience somebody and be a decent guy, but at least the neighbor I have now is such an asshole that I could care less. I'd shit on his lawn if I thought I could get away with it.
Well, you could just dump fish shit over the fence.
That doesn't smell though.
I've been tempted with dead fish. When I
that's what you do. Put the fish in a plastic bag and
I had a couple of catfish this year when the water got really warm. Got scars all over them and died. And I was tempted to toss him over in the back corner of his yard, just let him start stinking up. But I think it'd be pretty obvious who that was, so I didn't.
Well, not that I've ever done this, but allegedly someone I know to, get at somebody that they really felt wronged them, took a few little sardines or fish pieces and just slipped them into the AC vents on the outside of somebody's car. And then just let nature take its course, because that car is done for at that point. But then again, that's allegedly and not me.
Right. Saw it on YouTube.
Yeah. Oh, man. Oh, by the way, I forgot to ask, is your Donald Trump fish excited about next week?
Oh, yeah. He's just with a couple of other fish right now, and he seems to have calmed down. I don't know, maybe it was something about, like, because he was had more fish in the other tank, but I still haven't put anything else in there besides koi, and that's what he normally flips out about. So maybe it's just like the other fish in there, like, Republican enough for him, so he doesn't feel threatened,
Well, no, he only likes fish of his own kind.
Right. I'm pretty sure if I tried to put like a pleco back in there again, because that was when he really freaked out, man, was when I put 2 plecos in there, and I swear he just straight like smashed them up against the side of the tank. They didn't even live like 12 hours.
Damn, dude. They should have stayed on the other side of the wall.
Yeah, they should have.
Well, what you can do with fish like that when they get real aggressive is you take them out, you throw them in a 5-gallon bucket with like a lid mostly across it, and you throw it next to your desk and you just bang on it like every half hour. And you just like you pretty much just like haze the shit out of them. We used to have this problem once in a while with salt fish tanks.
I could do that with Trump. I think we could do it.
Like we used to have this problem with triggerfish and stuff, and it works for everything but like eels. Eels kind of don't get an attitude adjustment, but you can kind of basically just haze the crap out of them and like kind of just get them all jarred up, and then you throw them back in the tank with the fish, and it just drops them down on the pecking order.
Yeah.
Wait, when you said we could do that with Trump, Marty, you're talking about Trump fish, not right?
No, we can do that with Trump too. We can throw him in a tank with a bunch of water.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Either way, it's justifiable.
Yeah.
I don't think that qualifies as something that gets you in trouble with the Secret Service, right? Just putting them in water and banging on the side. That's not killing them.
He'll fit inside like an IBC tote, We can black it out.
I was thinking we could just stuff them in a 55-gallon drum.
I can
get behind this.
I can see it. Somebody fucked up his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
How amazing would it be if the last thing Obama did in office was pardon the guy who fucked up the star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame? You're actually going to get a reward for this.
But yeah, other than that, that would be cool.
Well, after Obama signed in the Monsanto Protection Act, I lost hope he was going to legalize.
Yeah, I never.
Besides that, he
legalized.
Everything else he did was okay with that.
He's just a puppet like Bush was. He's just mildly less controlled than Cheney.
Well, severely more intelligent than Bush, but.
Oh yeah, what is that?
Just because he's smarter, so.
Better grasp on grammar. I'll give him that.
Oh my God, Bush was terrible.
He was adorable, man. I learned something new every day. I was like, wow, I didn't know that was a word. He made me feel better about myself in comparison to him. I was like, wow, I could really do a great job. I could have been president. Holy shit.
My mom always told me, but I never really believed until Bush.
Yeah, really, he had a purpose.
And now Trump, now you got Trump. Anybody can be president.
Speaking of which, Rage Against the Machine played and was like protesting Bush or whatever back in the day when they did, I think it was Guerrilla Radio, when they shut down Wall Street or whatever. If you look in that video, there's a guy with a sign that was out promoting Trump. It says Trump 2000 or Trump for President 2000. And it was just really funny. Somebody pointed it out the other day that like Trump's been running for president that long. And like everyone kind of forgot that. Like he's been running like every single time.
Didn't he mention it in an interview like in '97 or some shit like that? Like he talked about it a while ago.
Yeah, he said something about if I was going to run, I'd vote Republican because those people would believe anything you tell them, I think was the line.
Yeah.
But I mean, if we had to have a celebrity a-hole running for the Republican nominee, why couldn't it have been Vince McMahon?
No, Charlie Sheen. Besides,
I don't know if he lived through the
Ventura.
presidency.
If it was anybody, it should be Jesse Ventura. If we're gonna put a celebrity politician into office, it's, in my opinion, it's got to be Ventura. And I don't even like a lot of the stuff that he does, but either Al Franken, what's his name? Franken.
Al Franken, yeah.
He's like really like he's like pro NSA spying and stuff. You can't trust, like he's pushed through a lot of those bills for the Democrats.
Yeah, but let's compare him to Trump. I mean, like,
It's true.
he may have some negative check marks, but not all of them. Like, I can't even.
Marty, you could compare a literal pile of shit to Trump, and you'll find a few positive check marks.
Yeah, but then you have Hillary, who's completely unelectable after, like, she's so corrupt, it's insane. So,
oh yeah,
I'm voting for Jill Stein again for the third time. So.
Why not?
Well, here's the bit: if she gets over 5%, she's all 50 states, and then we have 4 parties that are in all 50 states, and no more of this two-party crap. It'll kill off the two-party system once and for all. They'll be allowed in the debates at that point, and there's no more exclusion. They'll get government funding, and they'll be able to actually compete on the national stage, and we can break the two-party system. That's what has to happen. The only way the U.S. will survive is if the two-party system breaks.
The Republican and Democratic parties will never let the other two get in the debate, and that's why we know it's going to be fucked.
Well, that's not true. If they get 5% of the vote, they don't have an option next round.
Yeah, but the fear is too strong among all the voters of, well, if I don't at least give Hillary the vote, Trump will get in. If I don't give Trump the vote, Hillary will get in. And that's where a lot of the fear is and why people aren't going to be going for, like, her, Gary Johnson.
Right, and plus, like, do we have 4 years? Like, if either one of them gets elected, I don't think it's I don't think it's
both of them will be
impeached
within a year.
I don't think we can survive 4 years of Trump without World War III.
Yeah, and I can't go to Canada. My girl hates cold weather. I'm stuck.
Trump and Clinton both have no options. Wars.
I hear Mexico wants good weed now, so
Orale, homie.
Yeah.
You can try that.
That's why I'm hedging my bets in the Caribbean. The U.S. just goes to shit.
Well, just remember, even if you're not on the continental U.S., you're still guilty by association.
True enough.
It's true. So I actually had on that note, I actually asked Aquaponic Dummy, who's been on the show before, owns a thing up there in Maine, and he had some concerns with the Maine bill. I know, but last time we had kind of, I don't know, at least for my initial reading on it, spending an hour or two in each state, decided it was worth voting for. But this is the concerns that he brought up, and I just wanted to mention it because he lives there and, you know, he could understand a little better. He brought up, I personally don't like it. I grow legally and affordably already. I think it opens doorways for things that'll hurt what we already have established and put in place. Things we don't need are seed to sale tracking requirements. It's kind of a pretty universal now. Limited licensing and market capture, threats to patient privacy, loss of legal outdoor cultivation, impact on firearm laws, media restrictions, federal intervention, THC, OUI, blood tests, new public penalties, loss of access to safe medicine, penalties for unlicensed manufacturing, continued felony charges for growing, no removal of criminal penalties for possession, new bureaucracy, the list goes on. The common person doesn't see the downside of what they could do. In my opinion, Maine already has the best laws by governing cannabis. I think they should start by decriminalization first and then go from there. If the new law goes into effect, small business and caregivers, mostly nonprofits like myself, would not be able to afford to grow anymore. So
that sucks.
That is one of the bigger things. A lot of these new bills for caregiverships, co-ops, and a lot of these other groups that have really been the backbone of some of these patients' rights and these patients' groups, and they're all going to be made illegal or defunded or made extremely hard to run or extremely expensive to run legally, and that's fucked. You know, they're just trying to force everybody to these, you know, larger commercial growers, and there's no reason to do that. I mean, if you want to translate it over, look at beer. How many microbreweries and everything are around? Colorado and California both have been exploding with microbreweries. There's no reason the cannabis industry shouldn't be allowed to do the same thing, you know, especially when one's medicinal.
Yeah, no shit. Well, unlike microbreweries, a lot of the big pharma companies see an opportunity there, and so does Monsanto and Scotts. They don't really see much of an opportunity with microbrews by comparison. So if we could somehow make them think that it was not going to be profitable, then yeah, it would be fine. Unfortunately, it would be. So it's going to be a little bit of an uphill battle, considering they've got way more money than most of the growers do collectively, if not all of them, to fight this battle. So it's going to be a little hard to get the general populace to see past the misinformation, especially with some of our limited reach, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of been that way for a while, right? I mean, that's not, I guess I don't really look at that as a new problem. I look at that as less of a problem than it used to be. So at least there's some progress around it, but it's not perfect. And usually with legalization, it comes with more bullshit. And that's, and the same thing happened here in Oregon. And I think it is a little bit hard to separate what is just normal competition, because any market that opens up is going to have normal competition where the people that don't necessarily know what they're doing or have the best luck or are in the right position or whatever else that get cut out. But I think one of the biggest differences you see between alcohol and cannabis is that while they all take time to grow, cannabis is pretty much ready from the time that it's dried, as opposed to most alcohol requires some sort of, where you're talking about wine or you're talking about whiskey or you're talking about whatever, you're generally talking about some sort of processing time. So it takes longer to get it the total market or the total product to market. Even if you're doing concentrates with cannabis, you're still getting probably a higher yield. Like if you take how many pounds of hops it takes to be able to make a batch of even just beer, for instance, your overall yield of product is probably, in my opinion, less with alcohol.
Financially less, for sure.
Right. And your time frame in order to make your finished product is a lot longer. So I think they fight it a lot harder because they're at a disadvantage, just product wise, not even just morality wise. I think they make it morality because that's the easy, low hanging fruit that sort of defends their pocketbook is what they actually care about.
Yeah, I feel you, man, and I agree.
And their product kills people, which tends to create bad press.
Yeah, but they look like they're having so much fun when they're alive, though.
And super pretty.
Shit.
On all the commercials, they're all super pretty.
Yeah, it's
so
like when you go see a McDonald's commercial, everybody in there is super fit, super skinny. The only reason I like Arby's is because their commercials are, well, I won't eat there, but their commercials are legit. You just see all these fat construction workers eating Arby's. They're honest.
Right. I mean, there's nobody that looks like, that drinks beer and eats at McDonald's that looks like the people in those commercials. You know what I mean? Like, it
doesn't happen.
When's the last time you saw a guy, like, think of the last guy or that person that that always has a beer in their hand when you see him or you're hanging out or whatever, or when you see him, they're at the bar. And, do they look like people in beer commercials? No, they never do. They look like
they look jaundiced.
Cheers is what they look like, so yeah, Arby's for sure. I get what you're saying there. It's like straight up, we have the meats. It's not like they're trying to be something they're not, which I definitely have a level of respect for.
Yeah, they're like, you're gonna come, you're gonna eat it. We're not gonna lie. You're just a fat shit. Come get your burger.
Yeah. For sure.
I did have a chance to look into Arkansas's bill, and Arkansas's bill gives a pretty big. Yeah, it's cool that it's going to allow legalization for medical, but it really kind of pigeonholes the hell out of the industry and isn't really a good bill. And that's definitely one you probably want to vote no for. Florida's bill, I haven't had a chance to dig my teeth into. I'll try to put out a short video beforehand. I was hoping to get some more research done, but I've been honestly bouncing around. I've been between California and Colorado like 3 times in the last like 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So I've just been working and just haven't had time to dedicate as much time to the podcast as I normally do. So I apologize, guys. Massachusetts is a recreational ballot. Has anyone heard much about that one?
No.
Nope.
Man, I'm barely keeping up on what's going on in my own state.
Right? It's hard to keep tabs on all this stuff. I have a little thing that tells me when different areas are considering legalization.
Oh,
I don't know if
before
you have any questions this week, Steve, but one of the ones that I got asked about was somebody said that you mentioned something about a geothermal system for greenhouses that was pretty efficient. I don't know, maybe that was in the group or something. But they asked me about it too, and I don't have any information on it, but I thought maybe you could share yours.
Yeah, wait, so can you repeat the question? Sorry, I was just
basically they said that you had talked about a very simple and efficient geothermal cooling system.
Oh yeah.
And heating system for a greenhouse. And so I've never done that before, I've read a little bit about them, but if you want to talk about it a little bit, that'd be cool.
Yeah, so the method that he's referring to, or that we use, and I have some posts up on Aquaponic or Reddit Aquaponics. I posted some slideshows. You know what I'll do? I'll make a post about it up on Dude Grows and get some stuff up over there on it. But the idea is that it's called a GAT system, a ground air thermal exchange system. And you pretty much, so if you're doing a greenhouse, you're going to dig the whole thing out like you would an Olympic swimming pool. You're going to dig down 6 or 8 feet into the ground. Then you're going to put in a layer of gravel. And then you're going to take 55-gallon drums, and you're going to stack them, cut the bottoms out of, except for the bottom one, leave that one in. But take another one, cut the bottom of it, stack it on top of that one, take another one, cut the bottom of that, and stack it on top of that one. So you can get back up to ground level. And what you're going to do is you're going to go get 6-inch. Once you have 3 of those stacks of 55-gallon drums, you put one in the center of your, say I'm doing a 100 by 30 greenhouse. You're going to put, or we'll say 50 by 30 greenhouse. You're going to put it on the edge that's 30 feet wide, on your width. You're going to put it in the center on one side, and then you're going to put it on the opposite corners of the greenhouse, on the other end of the greenhouse in the corners. And then what you do is you want to make a V, basically a V shape between them, the 3 of them. And then what you're going to do is you're going to run black, 4 to 6 inch irrigation tubing, and you're going to cut holes so you can put it into the side of the 55-gallon drums, and then you basically run as many as you can back and forth between the one that's in the center of the greenhouse and then the 2 that are off in the opposite ends. So basically it forms a V if you're looking at it top down, and you just run those tubes in between the different 55-gallon drums, and you cut the ends so that it's open, so that if I blow air into that far one, it comes out the other 2, if that makes sense. The center stack of 55-gallon drums is your air intake, the other 2 is your air outtake. And then what you do is you layer it with gravel. So you put another layer of gravel, put your tubing, another layer of gravel, put your tubing, another layer of gravel, put your tubing, until you do that all the way up until you're, a couple feet from maybe a foot or 2 from the surface, and then put your, cover it up with some shade cloth so it doesn't get filled with dirt, and then layer soil on top of that, and then put your sand in, and then put your pavers in, or gravel, and then pavers, whichever you want to do for a greenhouse floor. And then what you can do is you can take an additional 1 or 2 55-gallon drums, cut the bottoms out of them, and bring them up until you're within about a foot of the roof of your greenhouse, the ceiling of the greenhouse, and then put a solar-powered fan on there, or an array of computer fans, if you want to low power it, and then that will blow air from the hottest part of your greenhouse down underground, heat that gravel and that tubing and everything underground, and then pump it back up the other end once it's been cooled down, because the ground's always, in Colorado, it's around 55, 58 degrees. So it'll always actively cool that air, a certain percentage each time it goes through there. And the reverse is true for the wintertime. if I have a super cold night, it's always pump, and it's been warm all day and it's been heating that gravel up all day, it's going to pump pretty warm air out of there for hours, overnight, and help maintain the temperature of the greenhouse that way. So it's a way that you can use to help balance and, get an equilibrium on your temperature. It's called a GAT system. And then you can put your fish tank in between, in an ideal situation, you put your fish tank in between that V, and you run some solar heaters to that, and then you can also climate control it via the water in your pond. And then you put a grow bed on top of that, over top of the pond, and then you can have your hatches there and everything. But that's when you want to get real crazy with it in real cold climates. But yeah, a ground out thermal exchange system is a simple way to get some AC and some heat out of it, depending on what you need at a given time. But it helps keep you around 55 to 60 degrees in most parts of the country. Now in Florida, your ground temperature is only like 68 or 70, and it doesn't help you near as much. But it just depends on your climate. You can go, the deeper you go, the colder it gets as well.
Hey Steve, can I ask you a question about that real quick?
Sure.
Is that as much work as it sounds like it is?
It's a lot of work, but it saves you just digging and assembling. It's not a ton of work, but it saves you dramatically on climate control costs between, it's just a super low energy passive way. I don't have any heating elements. I don't have any cooling elements. It's, as far as power to energy costs, I would never build a greenhouse without that.
Okay.
If I have the option to, period.
So
it's that good.
Amazing amount of work, totally worth it. I'm going to delegate the hell out of that. I am not digging.
It's not a ton of work. It just means you just rent a backhoe for the day and dig it out. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, backhoe for sure. Don't be digging that shit by hand.
Yeah, I mean, even a trench digger, you could do it with a trench digger if you were good.
Oh, so I can't do it with my little hand shovel? All right.
You can.
You can do it with a hand shovel. Yeah. Well, isn't that why people have kids? We have kids to do that kind of labor.
105 by 30-foot greenhouse. How many kids do you have? I mean, that's
$105, Jimmy.
Depends how far the closest school is. I'm just kidding.
Anyway, thanks for answering that, because I had no information for him. So if you can make a post on it, that would be cool.
Yeah, I have some pictures and stuff. I'll see if I can dig up some of the old construction photos we did. We built a 50 by 30 greenhouse back when I worked for the aquaponics source, and it had a full GAT system as well as thermal solar water heaters on a closed loop heat exchanger that went into the pond. And we basically, between the two combinations, we could just dramatically reduce our power and energy costs as far as heating, especially through the winter. It helped balance it out and help make sure we didn't use as much fuel in the cold nights. Have that constant warm air coming out of the ground. Just really, really helped tremendously with making sure that, when it got cold, like, below zero, that we were still able to keep the plants from ever getting damaged.
Nice. Right. So what was your max, like your high temperature?
So the high temperature, once in a while, especially when it's like 105, 110, we're flirting with 100, 102 in the greenhouse, but we could have designed the roof to be a little more able to handle that. I know that we had added some more fans right before we
stopped. When it was like, say, 100 inside the greenhouse, what was the temperature outside?
Oh, outside it'd be like 110.
Okay, cool.
But the other thing is, you got to remember that's not as big a deal, because you end up with the roots, the water going into the plants is cold. It's going to be at 70 whatever degrees that the pond is at, and as long as the plants have unlimited water supply, the heat doesn't affect them anywhere near as much. They'll get a little stretchy. If it happens while they're in late flower, they'll foxtail a little more. They'll be a little bit more larvae, but if it's only a couple of days in the middle of summer and it's veg still, or real early flower, it's not the end of the world. As long as they have that, again, unlimited access to water, which they always do, they can drink and drink and drink and replace the stuff that's leaving the leaves. Right.
And so my only concern was that that sounds great. Your greenhouse only gets up to maximum of 102 for only a little bit of time. Well, if it's only 90 degrees outside, that doesn't help me. When it's 110 outside, that means my greenhouse is going to be 130. So that's why it's just always good when you're talking about temperatures in greenhouses to make sure that you understand what the outside temperature is at the time too, because
Oh yeah,
that's
knowing your maximum high temperature exposure. Like for this new one we're building down in the desert down in Southern California, we're gonna build it pretty much just like we do it in Jamaica with a half roof, where the roof, instead of being a two circles like this, for those of you who are watching the video, we build it so it's jagged, so it's like this. So there's like a vertical wall that has a door that we can open up, and what happens is you open that up and the hot air just rolls right out the top of the greenhouse, and it helps a lot with ventilation when you're in these super high climates, as long as you can close it up in nighttime for when it gets cold. But that's what we do down in Jamaica or any of the tropical climates or hot climates. Is they call it I think it's a split greenhouse, I think is the name of it. Or split design, where you have that extra door at the top, and it's basically like one half of the circle is slightly larger than the other by a foot or two. And that's really how you deal with those. If you really have to deal with high temperatures on a regular basis, that's a really key design feature for your greenhouse, to dump that heat out as fast as possible when you get those cooker days.
Hey, Steve.
Yep.
I gotta cut out in a second, man. I just want to thank you again for having me on the show, Marty. It was an absolute pleasure finally getting to speak to you beyond leaving comments. I will be voting for your fish next week. Let him know.
all right, cool.
Because he's the only candidate that I trust at the moment.
He's currently deporting all the plecos that appear in the tank. So
he's doing the illegal pleco immigrants.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's walling them off.
Yeah. He's done his job.
Building a wall out of lace rock.
Oh, Jesus. Anyways, I just want to give a quick shout out to everybody in the DGC, and also my buddy over at Neptune Seed Bank. He's gotten me some of the best genetics I've grown, and seriously the best customer service of anybody that I've met. When I was first meeting the guy, I had an issue with one order. All the seeds that popped came back male. I put in had it checked down at SC Labs. I told him about it. Dude, hooked me right back up. I've never had that with Attitude or Seeds Here Now or anything like that. So I definitely vouch for that one. If anybody, because I know DGC people are always asking where to find something that's reliable. That's honestly the place I recommend.
Cool.
And looking forward to seeing you on Saturday for, we're technically seeing you on Saturday for the Wake and Bake. Steve, Marty, by all means, if you can make it, man, it'd be great.
I don't know what that is yet because I was on the phone to start this, but I will talk to Steve about it. And we will let you know.
Oh, that's right. We already wrote you in. Glad you agreed.
You did.
Yes, sounds good.
In Soviet DGC, show volunteers you.
I can tell you if it involves the words wake and bake, then I'm probably going to be okay with it. So good call.
Yeah, it's along the lines of what it sounds like.
Either way, it was going to be if I was there. So sounds
all right,
good.
Guys. I'll talk to you later, and I'll watch the rest of the show later when I finish up my stuff.
All right, that's good. We're going to make fun of you as soon as you hang up.
Shit, dude, I'm making fun of myself. My mom makes fun of me when I'm not looking. All right, take it easy.
Later.
All right, have a good one.
That was good stuff.
Yeah. Man, there's some articles I was going to bring up too, and I forget what the hell they were. I'll find them again in a couple minutes. I'm trying to get this other guest on the show at the moment and see if he can join us here.
Yeah, Adam was going to try and make it. We ended up having to, that's Adam who we had on before from Wheat for Warriors over there in Illinois. And he was going to make it, but he's ended up having to finish one of his college classes tonight. So, or projects for class tonight. So obviously that's important.
Yeah. And making sure you're voting on your local ballot initiatives for cannabis and studying them, reading them, understanding what the implications are and how it affects patient rights. You know, look at California 64 is going to dramatically increase the patient costs for medical cannabis patients. It's going to skyrocket. It's going to dramatically limit people to grow their own medicine and a whole bunch of other things. There's no, first off, every state should do a decriminalization bill first before they do any legalization. That should be number one. Number two is medical is separate. It should never be in the same bill as recreational. Neither should hemp. There's just no reason to. They're three separate creatures, and they should not be regulated the same way. It's ridiculous. Everything should have pesticide testing. and cannabinoid testing, because it's just like getting alcohol. I need to know what the proof of the alcohol is so I can decide on what I want. Cannabis is the same way. That's why you want the testing stuff, and you want to make sure that you're getting good medicine. I mean, look at Oregon and Colorado set some good examples in that they have the approved pesticide list, which has gone a long way to get making sure that you don't have things like Eagle 20, for example, which is fine to use in edibles, but if you combust it, turns into like a gas, an arsenic gas, which is extremely toxic. So a lot of these things, combustion affects them as well. So just making sure that you're accounting for things like that, and the sentencing guideline changes in Amendment 64. It changes many sentencing guidelines to may, and as far as allows judges discretion to decide up to that, or now under Amendment 64 changes all of those to shall, meaning your mandatory minimum 2 years for having over an ounce. So if your dispensary happens to overweigh you a half gram or a gram, you can face 2 years in prison for driving home with that. It strips away parents' rights to grow and medicate their children if they have seizure disorders and all kinds of stuff. It's 3 steps backward for a fake legalization. It's complete bullshit.
And they pull this shit all the time too, because now the people that still want to pass will go, oh, well, they intended to be that way. They didn't want to take away the parents' ability to be able to do it. And it's like, well, that doesn't really matter. Like, nobody's going to care. Like, especially the people that don't want to enforce the rules anyway, or are gonna fuck you with it. Like, it doesn't. Their intention does not change the wording of the bill. So whether or not they intended it to be that way or not, what is up for vote right now is the way that it is. And so, I get tired of hearing that like they'll fix it afterwards or whatever. Oregon's bill was worded fine, and there was really nothing wrong with it. They just found one particular section of it in which they could pervert into their own method of thinking and essentially just get away with doing it, even though it's directly against the way the bill is written. They're not supposed to be able to regulate medical cannabis at all, just like you were talking about. It shouldn't be in the bill. So they actually put it in there specifically separate and said, like, you city and county can't regulate it at all, but they still are through one little tiny perversion, which is technically illegal, and they're getting sued over and all that stuff that we're talking about. But the point is, intention does not matter shit. It just doesn't. However it passes is how it passes, and after that, just like we've talked about over and over again, all of your local, county, and city people are going to interpret it. And in my experience, most of the time it gets interpreted in whatever way that is that comes out to screw small growers. That's just how it happens. It's like any other political bullshit pile. Rich people end up on top. Ooh, shocking. But that's what it is. I mean, like, I just feel like a realist in terms of this. Like, there's no, like, your intentions really just don't matter. Like, their intentions when they wrote the bill may have been great, but the outcome, the actual output, not so great. So, I don't know what else to say about it besides that. I think it's going to pass anyway. That kind of sucks, but what are you going to do?
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Last time it was polling like it was going to pass and it failed. We can only hope that's the same this time.
Like,
I've gone to a lot of cannabis events, and pretty much everyone I talk to is against it. Like 95%. And once in a while, there's a handful of people that are for it. But everyone that's for it is connected to a really large cannabis company that stands to benefit by screwing over all the mom and pop guys. And cannabis is the one industry where mom and pops actually have the ability to compete, because a lot of the smaller growers are better growers than these bigger ones, or they have better attention to each plant than these massive factory farms. Nobody gives a shit. So
yeah,
that and making sure that they don't pull, like you were saying, the local ordinances bullshit, where they allow the fucking local townships and everything to just regulate the ever-living hell out of everything. And it's like, they have no right to do that. Do they do that with alcohol? No. Then we're end of discussion. Do they do that with prescription drugs? No. End of discussion. There's no reason why they shouldn't be treated any differently. This is completely insane. One other thing I was going to bring up too, having kind of on the same vein, Do you remember the raid in California a couple of years, or I guess it was a year or two ago, when the cops were eating the edibles and they dumped the guy out of the wheelchair and they like beat the guy in the wheelchair up and everything?
Yeah.
They the city and the township just paid out. It was like $100 million settlement or something crazy to them today, or a couple of days ago. I don't think it was today, but it was something really crazy. Like, and 4 of the cops got fired, and yeah, so that ended up at least somewhat in their direction.
Well, good.
I know they
I'll get fired. I mean,
they closed down for a bit and then they reopened.
That was terrible. That was like lost faith in humanity videos. You know
Well,
what I mean?
it just goes to show you, if you're a dispensary owner, you need to make sure you have multiple sets of cameras, and you need to have them wired up differently so that if you do have it, and these guys do pull that kind of crap, these guys to the wall, and just be like, look, I got you on camera, and you're gonna throw out my whole case because your cops are stealing my product.
Right. Yeah.
Not to mention, I'm pretty sure it's illegal to be intoxicated and have a gun on your person, regardless of what state you're in. And those guys were eating edibles, and they were all armed. So.
Well, yeah, but I'm sure half of those guys are intoxicated with firearms every Sunday. You know, like, yeah. I think they're guilty of so many other outrageous things. Whether you're talking about guilty morally, guilty as just a crime as a human being, or guilty of violating your basic oath as a police officer, you can count all those things on video and witness them for yourself. So I don't know who would ever defend any of those people, and I don't know how those people would ever defend themselves. It's just seems disgusting to me that, yeah, definitely was one of those, like, just fuck people. After I watched that video, I was just, yeah, fuck people. I felt like that for a long time. And even when I think about it, I still think that way. Just because, I mean, the guy's in a wheelchair. A wheelchair.
Yeah, for real. Right? What's he gonna do? He's gonna get up and beat you up? No. Maybe he might run over your foot. That's about it.
Yeah, I just, you know. Yeah, and then obviously, and then to talk about it in that way, and then like to be able to see that they eat this, like they unwrap it, eat the stuff on the camera. I mean, like, yeah, I don't know how they didn't know the cameras were there and recording. Like, they must have thought they turned them off or something, or I don't know. It just seems like that anybody would even think about doing that stuff to me is crazy. And then to have it be the people that are supposed to protect you, like if you want to bust a dispensary that has some shady stuff going on or whatever, and you have disagreements about, you know, even just cannabis in general, like I can still have respect for you as a person. But if you're going in and you're trashing somebody's place, fucking up a dude in a wheelchair, and straight up stealing their stuff, then there's no way I can even have respect for you as a person, let alone as a police officer. Like, you should just be done. Like, you should never have a position of authority again. Like, that's just the way I feel about it, I guess. It was terrible.
Yeah, it was completely ridiculous. On some other cool notes, we'll kind of change topic for a bit, and then we'll come back around to some more legalization stuff. They a couple of weeks, or I guess 2 weeks ago, they found a 2,500-year-old burial of a woman in China that was 2,500 years old, and she was buried in female cannabis plants. And they were all female. So that's pretty interesting. It's one of the oldest burials they found where the cannabis was used as like a burial type thing.
I read about that. That's pretty cool. I was like, did they find seeds? Because that would be awesome.
Yeah. There was another study done by the journal eLife that showed that THC has increases your night vision. How it affects your CB1 receptors in your eyeballs.
Violates your pupils too, right? Lets more light in.
I'm not sure. looking at my notes I had from the podcast.
I think that was the two things that it affected the receptors, and then also just in general because your pupils are dilated and let in more light.
Yeah.
So if it's the same article, I'm pretty sure.
Yep. So a couple days ago, Australia finally legalized and open licensing. You can finally apply for a cannabis license in Australia. Applicants have to pass a security test and meet strict requirements if you're going to grow it. And individual states and territories will still decide who can use medical cannabis. Just again goes back to some of these bullshit regulations where. So your country can legalize it, but your territory has an ultra right wing or ultra whatever peculiar minded, or like fear monger minded opinion on cannabis, and just tells you can't have your medicine. You know, I want to tell him when he needs a heart medication, no, you can't have it because I disagree with that.
I want to be able to decide when he
do the
takes
same
Viagra.
way. It's yeah. I want to tell him that I have a problem with his Viagra, and that's morally against my standards that you're allowed to take Viagra. So, you know, you can't have that. You know, this is the kind of crap that this is how we're being treated still. You know, we fought so hard to get where we're at, and now we're having to bend over and deal with ridiculous crap like this because people still won't let go. You know, the whole legalization thing is just a veil. It's fake in a way. You know, it's just another. You're not pulling off the restrictions. They're just going to keep paper cutting you until you're bled dry. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean it's like the same thing with fucking Chelsea Clinton talking about how marijuana kills people.
Oh yeah, kills people. I remember that. That was completely
asinine. The other day, did you see Gary Johnson in his debate when she was talking about the one lady was talking about the increased risk of heart attack and he like collapsed on the stage? It was fucking hilarious.
No.
You should look it up. He like fakes a heart attack on the stage and was like collapses and like, oh, he's like full on making fun of her. Like everybody's laughing at her because she's trying to talk about how people who smoke cannabis have an increased risk of heart attack for the first like 60 minutes after they smoke it. And he's like trying to tell her what nonsense it is, and she won't like.
How does that work? Because it lowers blood pressure. So if anything, it's going to decrease your chance of heart attack. I don't understand that.
Yeah, I don't know. But what was hilarious was just the way he made fun of her. He like, yeah, you should check it out. It's a fun clip. If you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. What's up, bud man?
So one of the other topics I wanted to bring up too is there's certain strains that just going into the whole commercialization, legalization topics.
Are you talking about strain names?
No, like strain extinction. Like there's certain strains that you just don't see. I haven't seen in 2 or 3 years because they don't meet that, 2.5 month turnaround, and their yield might be slightly lower, slightly, the structure might be a long one. But you don't see a lot of pure sativas much anymore in Colorado. You don't see a lot of longer flowering strains.
Shit, like. Not anybody that
wants. Yeah, and then I get that, but like at the same time, like some diversity is okay, and it's just one of the things where like I think people need to spend more attention to the fact that if we're not careful, we're gonna lose some of these genetics that are some, at the very least for breeding potential, but it's just getting rarer and rarer to find. I was looking at some strain lists that I wanted for 2 different projects recently, and it's getting very hard to find some of the ones that I'm trying to hunt down anymore, and it's just because they're not a tune-out, super high turn one, or they're, this, that, or the other, a peculiar thing, and it's, I don't know, frustrating. That's one of the other things that terrifies me and I've been preaching this for a while, and you can call me a crazy conspiracy theorist, but autoflowers and their prevalence is really concerning to me because ultimately, what the government could do, and if they can get control, they will, is force all production in the United States to be autoflower only and be started from seed only, and not even allow tissue culture or clone culture, and completely get rid of photodependent phenome types in order to completely get control of production for tax reasons. And, you know, while that sounds totally crazy conspiracy theorists, and yeah, there will always be some people that have genetics, that's entirely a possibility. And I would not be surprised to see a government do that in the next 5 to 10 years, simply for having control of the market. You know, if they can have a monopoly and they can get a, you know, a death grip on that money cock, you know, they'll do it.
Yeah, I mean, it does sound a little far-fetched, I suppose, and difficult to pull off. You know, like if they can't stop us from growing it now, I don't know how they'd stop it. You know, like maybe commercially, I could see that, but
that's what I'm talking about commercially.
Yeah, and so, but even still, I think even if they tried to make it so that nobody could grow personally, you know, they already can't do that now. They've already tried to stop doing that, so I don't think they'd be able to. But I do understand the concern about autoflowers. I haven't ran any personally, just because I've heard a lot of people say that they're crap, and I've never really just had a reason to fuck around with them. So I can't say personally.
Never yield anywhere close to what my my phototypes do for the same run. They're always larfier, a little less dense. I've never had. I mean, I've seen some pictures. Don't get me wrong. There's a Facebook group that I'm on. Was it Facebook Autoflower or something or other? You know, there's some really impressive guys on there, but yeah, I just never seen an autoflower. Really... I'll tell you what. I could tell you an autoflower just by looking at it. If I looked at a pound of an autoflower and a pound of a photo, I could tell you every single time which one's the auto.
Yeah, other than like maybe watching a couple of YouTube videos, I have no experience with them, so I try not to express much of an opinion on them, but that's the general consensus that I've gotten from everybody that I've talked to about it. And the stuff that I've seen hasn't been overly impressive, just on YouTube and stuff. So, I mean, not that it was bad, just it wasn't like impressive. So, and I mean, obviously do the research for yourself in terms of like the genetics behind it. It's not the most sound science in the world, we'll say. And I'm not an expert by any means, but I feel like I understand enough to know that it wasn't a good idea.
Well, and it's not to say that it can't be perfected. I mean, honestly, the gene altering in cannabis has completely not happened yet. And yeah, that gets into the whole GMO thing, but like, what if they could make one that just was like every single square inch of this thing is bud, or some other thing, and it wasn't, you know, GMO stuff. I don't think is completely, you know, bad, but it's one of those things that needs to stay in a lab for 5 to 10 years before it ever sees the light of day. Because he tested for 2 to 5 years before it ever should be allowed into the public. But it's not something I'm not pro GMO, but I think if they had a little bit of the ability to tinker with just that gene, or if someone could figure out how to make, you know, turn that expression off and on, you know, that might be something interesting later on as far as just doing for quicker production or taking some of the faster production genes from that. I know in Jamaica that I've seen 3 different fields, now that I think about it, that had at least a patch. They call it 47, I think is the name of it in Jamaica, or at least one of the more popular ones. And it's supposed to be, you know, pretty close to flower after 47 days after seeding, which is pretty crazy. But they have a strain that's just super, super fast down there. And I mean, I've seen it grow, you know, in flowers, you know, I've seen it myself in person. So,
right. And so
I'm starting to see it crop up in even the corners of the world.
I think on that similar, I guess on that similar trajectory, the same thing sort of applies to like extremely long flowering sativa plants. Like I know everybody wants to, you know, get on growers for not wanting to grow them, but at the same time, I don't feel like there's enough people that are willing to pay the money to offset the cost to grow them.
Well,
and that, you know, they need to understand that from the grower standpoint as well. So I think that somebody needs, you know, like, and maybe you guys can leave this in the comments or whatever, you know, but like if you go, and this question probably doesn't apply to me or Steve, or maybe even a lot of people that are listening, if you're growing your own medicine, then this question really doesn't apply to you, because if you want to grow one, you can just grow one and you can do that. But if you're a person who's buying meds out of a dispensary, and you're walking in the door and you see it on the shelf and you go, okay, well, this is a 13-week flowering sativa. Am I going to be willing to pay, X number of dollars more for that same ounce of something else that can be done in 8 weeks, and understand that there's direct business costs related to growing that and getting it to market. So, because I don't see that. I don't see the people willing to do that. And I think if they were willing to do it, then growers would be more than happy to do it. Most growers are in love with 90 different strains. They don't, it's not like they're refusing to grow it that long because they, for some reason, dislike plants after a certain number of weeks. It's just that it doesn't make sense because most of the time they're trying to pay their bills and feed their kids.
Yep.
So the demand has to be there, and without a level of understanding behind it, people want to go, I'm going to go to the weed store and buy some weed. Then, as long as that's your client, it's going to be difficult to be able to, convince somebody that it's, that doesn't understand already, that it, that it really does have a drastically different cost to get that product on the shelf available to you. Then it's going to be a tough sell. Most people will go, weed's weed. I'm going to buy this $200 ounce here because it's $200. So
there's actually a guy in chat who's commented on this topic. He says, I've been doing a 12 or 14 week hazes, no monetary benefit to it, no gain at all. Actually, I got one argument against that, specifically for hazes. Hazes are really heat tolerant. So like down in Jamaica and stuff like that, they're actually a good one if you're trying to they're a good one to hybridize stuff with. And then you take the phenoms that finish up a little quicker. But yeah, there's a couple of ones that we're hybridizing down in Jamaica right now that are hazes. The hazes seem to be much more heat tolerant. And like heat and humidity tolerant like we get down there.
Which definitely could be an advantage, but if you could find one that's heat tolerant and flowers in 8 weeks, then you're probably going to grow that instead. So,
use them for hybridizing.
Yeah, for sure.
But things like that are why you still want to have the base the genome around, though. If we move too far into this, we're going to lose some of these base genomes, and we're not going to have those things to go back to in our toolbox. And that's why, I don't know, a lot of this stuff scares me right now in a weird way.
Well, I think
I'm just happy I have my own little seed bank.
Anytime you see something that drastically reduces the number of small growers, then you run into those type of situations, or you're limiting people, like Indiana. I don't know if, we don't talk about it too much when Adam's not on here, but I always feel bad hanging out with them because, they're all in their group from over there, and in Illinois you have to assign yourself to one dispensary, and you're only allotted 1 ounce per month unless you get basically a special allowance for more, and you have to pay whatever price the dispensary charges. They have a menu, obviously, but I looked at one of their menus, and I think the cheapest option was like $320 an ounce. You can't look at any of it before you buy it because it all comes in sealed containers, so you can't even see what you get. And they post pictures, man. They dump some shake out of that stuff. I'd never pay. If I paid money for that shit, I'd be going back to somebody's house being like, this is not weed. You know what I mean? So I definitely feel bad about that. What's up?
So I was at a wholesaler where they do they supply, or I get not wholesaler. What do you call them? I was at a grower that was about to deliver it over to a dispensary in California a couple weeks ago, and there was this other guy that was like his friend of his that was also taking stuff over to the dispensary, and one of these that he had, I don't know where they came from, but one of the bags is like mold in it, and it smelled like mold. Another one was sun dried, and it was just like, why do you think that this is going to go? And then to top things off, so that was like that, and I kind of wrote it off as like, oh, this guy's just an idiot. And then a couple weeks, maybe 2 weeks after that experience, I went and what do you call it? Went to the dispensary, and I actually was presented, the first jar this guy had was sun cured weed. It was brown. It was straight up brown in San Diego. I couldn't believe it. I was offended. I was like, dude, that's sun dried. I was like, where? You can't even sell that. Like, oh, it's just funny to me how the quality control between Colorado and California is so dramatically different. You get everything from like moldy crap from a dispensary all the way up to, you know, other dispensaries in San Diego that are really high end and have amazing product. But it's just totally insane to me that there's that kind of stuff shifting around. And that, you know, that's one reason, as much as it's cool and all that you can grow and sell the dispensary in Cali, it's one reason to set in place some regulations, like for fuck's sake, at least some pesticide testing or pathogen testing. You know, this is crazy. You should have to at least go take, you know, take so many grams out of every pound and take it over and get it tested, or every 5 pounds or whatever, you know, whatever is reasonable. But it just seems totally insane to me that they're allowed to operate that way. And, you know, yes, we do need regulations. Yes, we need legalization, but we can't just blindly accept anything. Another big part of the bill in 64, to roll back to that for a minute, is the fact that the bill allows for legislature to modify the bill at any time without ballot initiative. That's bullshit. You're passing this. This is like basically needs to be set up like a constitutional amendment, so it can't be repealed by a governor that disagrees with it. And to allow them to just bend the bill at any time is completely insane. And that's, you know, honestly, one of the largest reasons to vote against 64. Like, forget all the other things that we've talked about so far. You cannot let your legislature go and start hacking away at the bill, you know, the week after it's passed. Not to mention, look at it this way. I'm trying to set up multiple cannabis businesses in California right now. How the hell am I supposed to plan financially or anywhere else if they can pull the rug out from underneath me, if they can change my regulations on a whim with no notice, or all this other stuff? It's financially, it's insane. Why would an investor pick California over another place? They wouldn't. They go to a place that's more stable or settled.
Get a loan from a federally insured bank. I mean, that's, you know, another big thing that happens a lot. Or if you want to be a tenant on somewhere that already has funding from a federally insured bank, then they can have you move out based on that principle. And it's you know, it's messed up. You cannot get a loan based on it also, because they can't, because they're federally insured. Even if you're a legal medical grow, a lot of times they won't do it. And maybe that's just an excuse for some asshole at the bank to not give somebody a loan, but it's just, you know, one more thing.
Yeah.
Just one more thing.
Yeah.
It's fucked up.
Yeah. Like I said, they'll let you pass the legalization, and they'll start nicking you and cutting you and nicking you and cutting you until you ain't got nothing left, or you can't do business anymore. That's the whole idea from the beginning, is to force it up to the, you know, Philip Morris and look. That's another thing. Look at 64. I was set up for that. It allows for 5 years. You can have the class 1 through 4 licenses, and then after 5 years, there's class 5 that comes into existence. And class 5 allows for unlimited production and completely vertical sale. Well, that's exactly designed so that they tinker with it, get everything set up for the big companies, and then pull the rug out from everybody and screw all the little guys all in one fell swoop. And unless you have, you know, an ace up your sleeve, like one of the plans that I'm working on, you're going to be totally screwed out of that.
So basically, I hope you're already rich.
Yeah.
Because if not, it's not looking so good.
Yeah, it's getting more and more frustrating to do it. No, don't get me wrong. I'm a spoiled brat. You know, listen to us whining about the hardships of growing weed. You know, fuck. If you told me when I was 15 that we'd be talking about this kind of stuff, I'd be like, you're crazy.
Yeah, I mean, basically, I mean, you know, and this kind of goes back to the same thing I was talking about the Illinois people, you know, like I don't want, you know, I feel like I'm bitching too much when I'm around them, or whenever I'm around somebody who's not in a legal state at all, and they're like, well, at least you have a dispensary, you know what I mean? Like somebody from like Kansas or some shit like that that doesn't have anything. And you know, so obviously there's a lot of things about working that I appreciate, and being able to grow myself for myself just saves me a lot of money to start with. You know, when I think about those guys over there in Illinois that have to, you know, they've got to buy their weed at the dispensary, pay the fucking top dollar. They might get good stuff, they might get shit, who knows? You know, just the amount of money that I would be spending, or you know, the fact that, you know, I probably have enough sitting here next to me to be over my limit for the next 6 months in Illinois if I was there. And in probably the next like 5 years or so in my garage right now. So, you know, it just, you know, I do have to appreciate the stuff I have, and that's great. But at the same time, it doesn't change what it still should be, which is 100% access, full legalization, federal across the board. It doesn't change my opinion about that. So I don't want to seem ungrateful, but it also doesn't change my ultimate opinion, which is that we should still have that, and we don't. And some of the regulations we still have are fucked up, but we definitely have come a long way from being complete criminals all the time to being partial criminals some of the time. That's the best attitude I got.
Well, here's another good one. So you have like your limits on how much California the new bill allows you to have up to an ounce, okay? But you can have 6 plants. Now, if I grow a plant that's, you know, an 8 or 10 pound plant or a 5 pound plant, I'm automatically illegal just because I'm a good grower. Like, that's bullshit. And if the police come in, you can be arrested for it. Again, they gotta fix this shit. It's just completely asinine. There's no. I want to see a limit on how much alcohol you can have in your house. Like how many milligrams of alcohol based on proof that you can have in your house. Like, let's do that. You know, like let's get all retarded, make everything completely crazy. Let's regulate everything like cannabis, and we'll see how much tax money they can make.
Yeah, you know, that's not what I want people to understand, that that's not going to be good. You know what I mean? Like,
no, it's not. I'm just trying to equate it to something that makes people grasp it and like not under.
I mean, like, for instance, I don't want the winery to have to start having to report on every grapevine that it plants and how many grapes it produces and how much initial extract they have for their wine, and then after it's done fermenting, how much they have. Like, fuck that. Like, that's just ridiculous.
Here's one in Oregon. Here's one in Oregon that's really over the top. So in Oregon, if you were in a commercial grow, okay, and you have a plant that's just a whatever, that clone's a dud. It's growing straight. It's not branching. It's stressed out. Something's wrong with it. It failed as a clone. You have to buy a bag from the state, this cannabis disposal bag, put it in there, seal it, and dispose of it that way. Like in their approved bag only. Jamaica wanted to do the same shit because they copy and pasted Oregon's bill. I was like, this is completely insane. Completely insane. If I fail as a brewer, no, but it's in the bill.
Yeah, and I don't think it's going to get implemented, but obviously it's there. But I haven't been able to get like any solid answers out of anybody about like how it would be enforced or whatever. There's some other stuff in there too, and I think most of that is just so that county and city boards have something that they can pick on for the people that they want to be able to shut down. That's really, you know, what it comes down to. There's other stupid shit in there too, like I have to physically secure my compost. Like look, if you need weed so bad that you come dig it out of my compost, just knock on my door. I will find something for you that is better than that. Like, don't dig weed out of my compost, please. but still, like, I cannot imagine like the situation that somebody envisioned that being a problem.
Well, here in Colorado, you have to, because I worked at a legal dispensary out here, and in Colorado, because I'm in Colorado, temporary, I'm talking, as you can see in the back. In Colorado, you have to take anything that's not usable product, put it in a big tumbler with cat litter and ammonia, and tumble it and then dispose of it. So I need to go buy I need to now use a chemical agent and put that into the environment that I didn't need to do before when we're already having ammonia and nitrogen problems. Like screw everything else, the eco impact on that decision is completely ridiculous.
Plus, it's not like nobody like growing corn husks has to worry about securing their compost because somebody might come steal all of the corn stalks and distill it down. I mean, like, what? I don't know. I don't know what else to say.
On the corn note, a pleasant thing on the corn note, the Jamaicans taught me a really cool trick. You can take a really good organic corn husk. When you're peeling your corn, if you got a good one, it's not GMO, not sprayed with glyphosate. You can take that and dry it in your refrigerator, like in a cool temperature, and it'll turn nice and brown and it'll be very much like tobacco rolling papers. And you take it and you use it as a blunt wrap, and then you strip one of the strings down because it's real stringy, and you tie it up in a little bow, and you tie it up in little bows all the way down as you peel it down. And it's real sweet smoke, and it's a great way if you're looking for something different than like a blunt wrap. It's something I've never seen outside of Jamaica, and I only saw in rural Jamaica where they didn't really. Some of the Rastas are kind of opposed to tobacco. Well, a lot of the Rastas are opposed to tobacco. Most of them, anyway. You can't smoke tobacco in any of their holy areas, like Nyabingi or any of the others. In fact, a lady I was with. This is a funny story. One of the ladies I was with, was the guy I work for down there, his nurse. We were. We were up at Nyabingi, and there was a real big gathering. We were meeting the UN delegation and everything up there. And there's like a whole bunch of super important Rastas from all over the island representing different, regions of the island and different churches, whatever you want to call it. I forget what the official terms are for all that stuff. But doing all that, and then she lights up a cigarette, and even inhale that cigarette. She was, and I'm not even. These are like ninja Rastas, right? Like ninjas. The moment she lit it, before she could inhale, like 20 Rastas, all over the age of like 65, descend upon her, pull out the joint, and stuff like 4 lit joints into her mouth before she could even inhale like the cigarette. It was the funniest thing in the world. They're like, you can't smoke that here. We like cannabis only, cannabis only. It was so, or ganja only, ganja only. It was the funniest thing. It's like the exact opposite of everywhere else. You're allowed to smoke tobacco.
Anywhere there's a smoking section somewhere, it's like, it just pisses me off to fucking no end that if I had cigarettes, I could walk over there and hang out with my buddies and spark up, and everybody would be cool and fine, and they would have their, they got their own cool little smokers club, have their own little area, but not cannabis. You can't even vape. You can't even take your shit out in public and put it on the table and discuss it with your friend. I mean, it's like, why? It just makes no sense to me. But
at least in Jamaica, I can roll a joint at the bar.
Maybe I just need to move to Jamaica. That's it. But it's definitely not that way in Southern Oregon. It's pretty lame.
I'm kind of curious to go to Puerto Rico as a freshly legalized U.S. territory to see how they kind of react to socially compared to everywhere else I've been, because it's Caribbean, but it's U.S. cultures-ish. So I'm kind of curious to see how that all plays out. I'm kind of excited for this next trip.
Yeah, should be fun. Well, man, I gotta get going. It's getting pretty late. Got to put the kids to bed.
Sure. Yeah, we'll wind down. Sorry, it's a little unconventional episode again, guys. Things will settle down a lot more once we get moved into the new place, and things will be less chaotic. But we should be back on schedule now to at least be doing episodes every week again, and unless there's some horrible problem with my internet out in the middle of the desert, in which case we'll switch to my phone internet and we'll do it that way.
That's right. Every time you say that you will get back on track, then you fly somewhere else for.
I know. I try.
Yeah,
Some
so
crazy shit happens.
we won't make any promises, but I want to say thanks to
It's fine.
Bomba Grower over here and Oregon Budman, or Oregon Growing Budman.
yeah.
We always like having people hang out with us live. Always fun. So
Oh,
if you
yeah.
guys have any questions, make sure you hit us up on there. Hit us in the comment section. My YouTube channel is AP Meds. Steve's is Potent Ponics. Big thanks to I don't want to use his actual name. What's it? Fish Ganja Guy.
Fish Ganja
Right?
Guy.
Fish Ganja Guy. Thanks to him, and it's good talking to him. First time I think I've been on the show with him, so or meeting him, so that was nice. And Do Grow Show. Big shout out to those guys. And the Wake and Bake, which I think you said was tomorrow. Is that right?
So Saturday we'll be on Wake and Bake.
Saturday, right? Today's day ahead of myself. So Saturday for that. And then yeah, I think that's about it for my stuff. Hit me up on AP Meds. Oh, Aquaponic Cannabis Growers Group on Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
So search that. Steve, I want to remind you about throwing up that post there. I think that's where they were looking for the geothermal information.
Yeah, it'll take me a day or two to do the write-up, but I'll get that written up for them. And
no worries.
I also, yeah, and then shout out to Eden Art Gardens for being the future home of some pretty dope aquaponic cannabis stuff out there. And I think there's one. Oh, you can go to aquaponicpodcast.com. That takes you to our blog section over at Dude Grows. And yeah, shout out to Dude Grows. We'll be doing some more content with them here soon. Some stuff that we haven't had a chance to reveal. That'll be really cool for you guys. And I think that's everything. I can't think of anything else at the moment. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to email us. Ponics at Gmail. Marty's is I think APMeds at Gmail. So just hit us up.
All right, sounds good. You guys have a good night.
Thanks, everybody. Yep, thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll see you guys again next time.